Hello, everyone, and welcome to Okcoin Live. I'm your host, Samuel McCullough, and this week we have something a bit different. I'm joined by our CEO, Hung Feng, and also two of our wonderful employees here at Okcoin, uh, Alex Chizik, our also Okcoin Live host, and Alina Marchenko, to talk about the current situation in Ukraine and Okcoin's response during all of this. So welcome, everybody.
Thanks,
Hi.
Sam.
Yeah. This has been really troubling time for a lot of people here at the company. We have a lot of people who are affected by the events that have been happening in Ukraine over the past few weeks. Both people who have been living in Ukraine and have needed support from the company, and also other employees like Alex and Alina who have deep roots to the country and um, have friends and family who are being affected by it. And it's been a really difficult time for everybody. And so we're going to take this episode to talk more in depth with both of them to hear their stories and then to discuss more about how we're handling this here at OKCoin. Uh, so I think we'll start with the ladies first, and we can turn to you, Alina. Alina, maybe you can talk to us about how your family, you're in the States now, but how did your family come from Ukraine, and what is your story for your family's heritage?
Yes, so I was born in Belarus, which is just north of Ukraine. And in 1989, my parents came to the US as refugees, with my sister and me in tow. And it was quite an experience. And I would say it was a very, very formative thing for my life, to immigrate at that young age and from the Soviet Union at the time. Um, Belarus now is unfortunately, the people there are struggling greatly. There's a dictator in place, who is compliant with the whims of Russia. And the people and the culture have been swallowed up, and it's not a country that functions independently anymore. My parents sort of saw this, and experienced it firsthand, and that's why they chose to immigrate. And I'm extremely thankful for that. And when I see some of the things coming out of Ukraine, it really takes me back to us as refugees. But unfortunately, it is a lot worse for the Ukrainians at this juncture. We had time to plan, to pack, to say our goodbyes, and overnight their lives have been transformed. So, and I think a lot of people from the region, those at Okcoin and just those here in the States, are really feeling for everything that's happening, and extremely grateful that we were able to immigrate when we did. And I think, Alex, you have a similar story, except you're from Ukraine.
Yeah, very similar story. Actually, I think all of us have spent time. Sam, you spent time in Russia, and then you, Alina, me, and Hong are immigrants. Um, we're from Ukraine. I immigrated in 1991 with my family as well. And like you said, a lot of what's happening, other than the terrible crisis on the ground, brings up a lot of the memories of the former Soviet Union, frankly. And to me, there are a lot of things kind of going through my mind. And one thing I want to hopefully implore is that there's nuance here. It's very easy to say, Russia is evil, and Ukraine are the victims, and by and large, civilians, it's the case. But there's a lot of nuance to the former Soviet Union. Maybe we can talk about this and talk about how this applies to crypto. But a lot of we'll take a crypto angle to this. A lot of the freedoms that we hope the crypto can bring is on the table or and on main stage what we're seeing with this war. So, for example, Russia is now imposing capital controls. we had capital controls. We were emigrating. Every person that was allowed to leave the former Soviet Union was allowed to bring 2 bags. That's it. That was your whole livelihood, just 2 bags. I have a story that I've told otherwise, where my grandfather had a collection of silver rubles where he hid it in my pants because I was a child going through security in German airports. Um, when this conflict started, I was speaking with my mom, and she kind of tearfully told me that, for a Russian mother, or not a Russian, but a former Soviet Union mother, when you had a child that was born that was a boy, it was a blessing because you had a child, and a curse because he was a boy, and that boy is going to get conscripted into the army one way or another. When a conflict hits, and then we see conscripts, there are a lot of Russian soldiers. It's easy to demonize them, but a lot of them are boys of 18 years old that are going into a country unknown why they're going in, that they're going in, not with no battle plans. So this is a crisis that is beyond just the terrible civilian loss in Ukraine. It's a crisis that's taken Ukraine back and Russia back generations, putting, it's kind of stolen the livelihood of generations of people and young people, and not to mention the damage and the terrible atrocities that are happening on the ground in Ukraine. And so uh, lots to talk about here, I guess, as we go in. But we should definitely talk about how crypto helps and why we're all hopeful about crypto in this situation.
Yeah, I was living in Moscow during the um, when the Maidan happened, and I actually went to Kyiv soon after. Uh, I think a year after the Maidan, and it was pretty eye opening. That was actually the first currency crisis that I'd ever lived through. We're lucky here in the United States to never have really seen a huge devaluation of the dollar in our lifetimes. But I actually lived through two of them in Russia, where the first time the ruble went from like 30 to the dollar to 60, and then it went from around like 40 to 70 again, and now the ruble's trading at about 120. So just in an 8-year time period, if you're in rubles, you've lost 80% of your wealth. And when I saw a lot of crazy things during that first uh, uh, conflict with the Maidan, of people just essentially like trying to sell all of their rubles for euros or dollars at the time. And uh, I just don't think that's possible now. I think with the capital controls that they've instituted in Russia, it's just not possible. So it's good to have alternatives like Bitcoin and uh, also stable coins as well too, where people can move their cash and have an exit when they need to, when they need to live in the country and provide for themselves, or try to leave the country for other places and other jurisdictions which might be friendlier. Um,
Yes, and just with any crisis, I know that we all believe that Bitcoin fixes this. So I want to hear from Hong. Hong, what is Okcoin's stance um, on these regulations or sanctions, and generally, what are we doing to help?
Yeah. We have been having a lot of internal discussions about this, and I think the direction we're going is very clear from the very beginning. I don't think we actually have much controversy on this point internally. I think it's probably because we have a team of extreme diversity, of team who actually understand, either from their personal experience or from what they have seen uh, with their friends in their life, and they understand the importance of giving that accessibility back to people, regardless of where they come from. So even if we see, to Alex's point, there are subtlety in this, and Elena, you said it's extremely tragic for people in the region, and hopefully it does not become a larger tragic. But we are in the middle of this and seeing everything evolve real time. But from our perspective, what we are here for, what we originally come together to do, is to contribute to build something in parallel to the existing system, where money is being controlled by central government or certain body of people, where average citizens are at the mercy of the few who made various decisions to either inflate away their wealth or control the capital flow, so that they actually don't have choices. I think we're all here because we know the importance of having choices and offering choices. So when there's rhetoric out there saying that we need a sanction put a blanket sanction in that region for Russia or any other countries, it was pretty unanimous internally. I'm deeply moved to see that it's very unanimously, um, it's a unanimous consensus internally that we should not impose any blanket sanction uh, to that region, but instead really uphold what we are here for, to offer that uh, alternative to people who are in need, regardless of where they are. Does it mean that we may end up uh, uh, encouraging the bad? Not necessarily so, right? Because the quote unquote the bad would still have their own way. They probably have more resources than the ordinary citizens anyway. Number one. Number two, if there are a very specific sanction list for specific politicians who need to be kind of blanked out, then we will abide when that is officially on the sanction list. And we are operating in the normal regulated way, and we comply with those sanction lists that is explicitly laid out. But we see a blanket sanction to be against what we are here for. And it was unfortunate this morning that when we noticed that our Russian customers cannot access their card because of Visa and MasterCard blocking Russian region. I think it's very sad, and that they are taking a hit for decisions that they are not responsible for, in addition to potential personal sacrifices they're also making in a way that we cannot comprehend. So I think that's one thing. The other thing that I also want to share here is that, again, I think it's very uplifting to when we socialize that idea internally. I got a lot of voluntary inbound feedback from our team, from all different functionalities, different parts of the world, basically echoing the support and honestly relief that we are actually taking this chance that is in line with how they're seeing it. But on top of that, the matter of fact that we're seeing Visa and MasterCard blocking the region, and a lot of people in that region are losing access to the only thing that they may cling to, also speak to the fact that when we build what we're building, it's important to remember that these crypto assets are not just charts. They are asset classes, yes, to a lot of people, but at the same time, they're only hope for something different. And in order to make that really sustainable long term, it's important that we focus on building the whole ecosystem. That's why we have felt very strong about building around Bitcoin, contributing to the core developer community, helping projects that actually are building on top of Bitcoin, smart contract, helping promote Lightning, which basically bring more use cases to Bitcoin, and try to build a closed loop economy around it, so that any type of sanction that any third party would want or need to impose won't be systematic, right? There is an alternative that is self-governed, that is open sourced, that is censorship resistant. And it's not just the Bitcoin itself, right? There's a whole economy that evolves around it ultimately that can carry people forward.
So, Hong, I want to make kind of one observation. We're talking about sanctions, which is, let's not blanket all people. And that's I think a very important topic. There's the other topic of either like people in Ukraine are suffering. Obviously, they're suffering, right? They're
Yeah.
getting bombed. They have to reconstruct the entire country. There's massive civilian casualties. And at the same time, because of crypto payments to Ukraine, the Ukrainian government for the first time went out and said, And by the way, Ukraine is one of the leading countries in crypto in the world, and the government went out and said, "Hey, here's the Bitcoin address that we have. Here's an Ethereum address that we have. Right here's Polkadot, and so on and so forth, Solana, Avalanche." And they're getting crypto donations, right? They're getting crypto donations, even toying with an airdrop of sorts. But on one hand, it stops and allows freedom in both cases, right? And
Absolutely. Yeah.
if we were in a harder currency, maybe Putin wouldn't go into a war where you can just print, like you said, the Russian ruble fell, right? Sam talked about the Russian ruble falling. It was at 30, now it's a 120. So people over the course of 8 years, and most importantly, over the course of 2 weeks, lost 75% of their wealth like this, right? But to Ukraine, there are many, many people donating Bitcoin, either to the government or through some places directly to debit cards in Ukraine. So you can say, these people, here are the debit cards, we want to donate. And it goes to Ukrainian hryvnia, which is the currency, right away through the crypto rails. And I think it shows the power, again, of what we're all building. When people need it and banks don't work, or you can't go to the bank, or you're getting bombed, you're able to get money instantaneously, fairly quickly. And that's bypassing the traditional legacy systems. I think it's a very, very powerful way of supporting people on the ground.
It's truly a historic thing, I think, that we're living through, because crypto donations aren't new, but the way that Ukraine has been able to mobilize the crypto community and appeal in a time where it's necessary to do it now. And you could get this done in minutes, where traditional banking, it takes hours, days. It's just so slow. And Alex, imagine if when we immigrated, that we had access to all of our wealth. It would have changed the entire course of our immigration too, because the refugees that are fleeing that do have their crypto is safe and sound. Their password is in their head. The access to their account is with them. And this is the use case for crypto. It's the reason why I work in crypto and I do what I do, because of that personal experience of, having to start from zero, which a lot of people will now have to do.
Yeah, I love to hear Hong's take as well, but there's a kind of three parts to this, right? The defensive part is like, don't sanction everyone who, there are many Russians that are against the war. I think the second part
Absolutely.
is, right, the second part is, hey, you can quickly send payments across to help the people on the ground.
Yeah.
No Western Union. You're not going to go to Western Union, send these checks and have that check, Ukraine is being bombed over Saturday and Sunday. Massive bombing in Ukraine over Saturday and Sunday. People need money, food now, right? So there's a way of getting them funds. And then the third part is, there's over 2 million refugees now going into Poland and so on. For those who have been lucky enough or smart enough or whatever to have had crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, stables, doesn't matter, some sort of digital asset, like you said, that third part, now they can keep their wealth. And again, and I remember before leaving the Soviet Union, we would like buy furniture, okay, and then sell it in rubles and sell it for dollars, and 20 cents, 30 cents on the dollar, like literally living room couches, because it was the only way to convert rubles to dollars in the Soviet Union. And, with crypto, you can take it with you, and that's just such a powerful
It's
paradigm.
like
And
magic.
It
yeah,
travels so much better across time, across generations, across regions. And yes, Alex, to a point, I think it's such a powerful message when Ukraine government went online, went on social platform and say, hey, this is the address that we have. And that address or addresses were actually verified very quickly on chain by the community. And then within 24 hours, right, millions of donation flew in. And that was extremely powerful. That was never seen before. We made our own donations too. And I'm sure a lot of our team members and made their personal donation offline without making it known. But I think just the matter of the fact that the level of transparency and instance of making that route available and people actually see. I think the mere fact of seeing the value on the addresses increase minute by minute, hour by hour, also actually amplify the impact, right? People are seeing that around the world, a lot of people care, and they're caring by putting their wealth to it. That in itself is a very strong marketing tool as well. When uh, we try to mobilize people around the world to support Ukraine people in needs, right, and make their voice heard. I think that is a very extremely powerful, not only economic tool, but also a marketing.
Can I just touch upon this point really quickly? I think this is for people listening. This is so, so important. Many people miss this. This point Hong just brought up, that it's transparent, that you could see, one, it galvanizes the community, and so you could see who's actually using the address and what's going there. The fact that it's a transparent ledger, and then you can triangulate where, people whose address this is and what they're doing with it. The fact that it's transparent is unlike anything we've had, in history before. And I really don't like this argument of, well, oligarchs are going to hide their money and they're going to bypass sanctions. They're literally bypassing sanctions with gold, with yachts, with real estate. No one's coming in London and in Italy and the Netherlands and taking away their crypto addresses. They're taking away their yachts.
It's hard.
This is how, yeah,
It's too
this is
transparent.
exactly, you can't do it. But this is exactly, but this is how they've exported money out, right? So
Traditionally.
Yeah,
traditionally, exactly. But
Because it doesn't
so
leave
this argument,
trails, right, online. And crypto actually leaves trails everywhere.
exactly, crypto leaves trails. You can see what's happening. So it's this argument that it's, that it's going to be used for, illicit activities. Anything can be used for illicit activities. Literally anything.
And it has
Yachts,
been for
and it has been.
generations, for hundreds, thousands of years. People have been
Yeah.
figuring out how to do it. So
I-
to
So it's
blame
like,
it on
yeah.
crypto, it never made sense.
So
It's-
so for every oligarch that buys a yacht, you have, thousands of refugees. They get crypto payments to their wallets and are able to store their wealth when something like this happens. And it's like, let's not, cut off the nose to spite the face, so to speak. It's just we're focusing all the negatives instead of focusing, I think, as the talking points on the positives of, look at what crypto is actually doing, right? Look at who's actually using it and how.
I do think that the use cases in this conflict have been a byproduct of this conflict will really crystallize crypto's place in the in everyone's financial futures. I think it's impossible to ignore the impact that it's had and will continue to have, even on the rebuilding. Hopefully that'll take place soon. And I do want to bring up one more point. I think that Hong, and you tell me how you feel about this, but Okcoin's response, it was pretty swift, and you did sort of consider a lot of voices in the room. And even though it's probably the first time that we've had to face something like this as a company, I think that the way you navigated it spoke volumes.
We could have moved faster, if you ask me. Even faster, a few more days faster. There have been pockets of conversations here and there, but and I do think that people have different points of view, but bottom line, we are quite aligned. That's ultimately what I feel that I should make it crystal clear at the firm level and leave no ambiguity, because there are people coming to me directly or indirectly asking about it. So I decided to proactively address it. But if you ask me, probably we can do even faster, like maybe 3 or 4 days earlier, because the position never changed. When we had a team, a functional team call right after, right on the heel of the attack, we had a team call for something business purpose, something else. And that pressure was raised right away. And I don't think the response that I gave on that call was any different from what we communicated officially at the firm-wide scale. But nothing is perfect. We didn't do it faster more because there are subtleties. We want to make sure that everything is covered, but lessons learned, we could have done even faster to make sure that people don't have to come with questions, but they get that immediate assurance and alignment, which would actually, I don't think it really helped with any substance for people who are actually going through the real pain, right? For Leela and Alex, for two of you, for many others. And we have also team members who are physically in the region, in Ukraine, who are still trying to get out of Ukraine. For those team members, what we say can only do so much. But I guess, so much still count in volatile situations like this. Yeah. So, bottom line is I wish we could set this 3 or 4 days faster earlier.
Hopefully this abates soon. But how do you think this is going to change? Do you foresee any impact to the industry or to our business? I know we talked about solidifying some of the use cases.
Yeah.
And again, I think, for this call, maybe we should have explicitly said it. We're taking a crypto angle. We're obviously saddened by what's happening on the ground. We're obviously very sympathetic. Like, I'm wearing a Ukrainian shirt. I'm obviously sympathetic with the people of Ukraine, with civilians, and the massive casualties they're taking, and our heart breaks for them. But we, we're a crypto shop, so we want to take a little bit of a economic crypto angle. And so, how do you see this changing the industry or our business, if any?
I think it's a very historically critical moment when we see geopolitical crashes have profound implications. And I think will continue to have profound implications on what we're doing in crypto. Or put it another way, crypto in itself is political and geopolitical to start with. There are different realities or possibility of realities at the end of our crypto journey, right? One reality is a reality where everything is censored, everything is controlled, everything is KYC'd at the KYC level. Because crypto is transparent, because it can actually be traced and monitored and controlled technically. So there's that one possibility of future reality. The other possible reality is we really invest in the technology and various projects to enable a, number one, enough privacy on chain, and number two, more importantly, to build around the ecosystem so that crypto assets are not just crypto assets. We don't live in a world where we think of crypto as an alternative financial system. That should not be the case. For this to be a valid alternative, it has to be an alternative life, so to speak. We have to build on top of Bitcoin, on top of Ethereum and many others, real use cases, applications, so that Bitcoin or Ethereum or any other crypto assets can actually be used closed loop within the crypto system. People can actually use it to buy stuff. People can actually use it to consume, and then move the asset from generation to generation. That's the only way to make it a valid alternative. If it is just another category of trading assets, that's it. Like, ultimately, it will just be a trading asset as a decoration to the existing system, and it will be heavily KYC'd end to end. And there's no alternative access or freedom, so to speak, that we are trying to build here. So I think I think those two possibilities still exist in parallel. Where we will end up with is very much dependent on how much us and the rest of the community direct our energy and resources. I think it's very much in the air. But it's in our hands. So I think what my take is coming from here. Number one, it is another milestone. No doubt about it. Right after COVID, after El Salvador, and this, it is a big milestone to highlight the real use case and value of Bitcoin and crypto. What it means to citizens who have no better choices. And number two, I think it probably also heightened the tension between more control versus less control. And when you argue for less control, what are the other things that you can build into the system to ensure sustainability in a self-sovereign world? That involves a lot of building from different angles. I think for us at Okcoin, we want to build a platform that enable the formation of a very efficient marketplace. And we want to also partner with various projects and particularly help those projects who are building blocks of a better future and evolve along with the industry. We feel also passionate about the self-custody part of it. That's actually on our roadmap. We think that it's important to provide those optionalities to our users. So a lot of pieces have to come together bit by bit. But yeah, I think we will, being part of crypto industry, we just need to be ready for that, both emotional and regulatory volatility that comes together with it.
Yeah. Yeah. They say you should fix your roof while the sun is shining. And it's unfortunate that it takes a crisis like this to highlight the benefits that crypto provides, both in providing humanitarian support and then also giving the people of these nations the ability to keep their wealth, keep their savings, no matter which jurisdiction they're in. And so I think hopefully this shifts the narrative a little bit in showing people what's actually possible and why we talk about the things that we do on a daily basis and why it's so important to us. Because when there is no conflicts and everything's going fine, I think it's easy to get lost in some of the other narratives and nuances concerning Bitcoin and crypto. But when we're actually in troubled times and crisis, I mean, this is it's a difficult time for a lot of people, but this is our time to shine and really show the world the benefits of what we've been talking about for so long.
Yeah, and I also want to say thank you to our team at Okcoin. I think everyone really rallied around. They show a lot of empathy. They show support for those who are more affected by this than others. And they really rally around in the crisis period. And also show their deep understanding of what we're working on for and bond closer throughout this crisis period. So, I want to actually take this opportunity to thank everyone on the team to be part of the team and be there for each other.
Thanks, Hong. Yeah, that means a lot. And I agree.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us a voice. And thank you so much for giving us strength during this time. And of course, our hearts are with everyone in the region. Everyone is suffering in their own unique way. And we wish them well and a quick, speedy peace to them.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Hong.
I think it's probably a good place to wrap things up. Thank you, Hong. Thank you, Alex. And thank you, Lena, for coming on to speak today. I know this is all a really difficult situation for everyone. And we all hope that it's resolved in the shortest and quickest amount of time, and that we can proceed on a path to peace. So thank you again for coming and hosting this today. I'm Samuel McCullough, and we'll see you again for next week's episode of Okcoin Live.